Watch this glacier collapse into the ocean. We are witnessing the physical systems that stabilize our climate disintegrate in real time. However, the engineering required to stop this is already in the field. This aerial photograph shows the massive scale of a modern solar farm. We are actively deploying wind, solar, and the supply chains needed to power them. The hardware is no longer the primary hurdle. Solving the technical hurdles is only half the battle. The real impasse is the moral dilemma of exactly who should pay for this transition. The wealthy nations of the global north produced the vast majority of historical emissions to build their economies. Meanwhile, developing nations in the global south suffer the most severe environmental consequences, despite contributing a fraction of the pollution. Science provides the atmospheric data, measuring carbon concentrations and projecting sea level rise. But data alone cannot determine what is fair. To resolve these global disparities and hit our looming 2026 climate targets, we must consult three of the most powerful moral frameworks in human history. This engraving depicts John Stuart Mill, a key architect of utilitarianism. This framework looks entirely forward, judging our actions exclusively by their future consequences. Mill's principle of utility dictates that the correct action is the one that maximizes happiness and minimizes suffering for the greatest number of people. A utilitarian analyzes the raw math of the crisis, weighing the short-term economic disruption of a green transition against the preservation of millions of lives globally. Because the cost of inaction is mass global suffering, this framework demands the immediate scaling of renewables and standardized design. For the utilitarian, the preservation of the species justifies the means. In this view, the right choice is simply whatever ensures the highest statistical probability of global survival. While this mathematical lens prioritizes future survival, it risks ignoring the fairness of who caused the damage in the first place. This brings us to a backward-looking framework, deontology. Championed by Immanuel Kant, this philosophy argues that moral worth is determined by our adherence to duty, regardless of the eventual outcome. Kant defined the categorical imperative, the principle that you must act only according to rules you would want to become universal laws. Applied to the emissions gap, climate action becomes an absolute moral obligation. If we would not accept a law that allows one person to pollute another's land, we cannot accept a global system that does the same. As detailed in this research, developed nations bear a significant responsibility for climate action. They have a strict duty to fund global sustainability because they are historically responsible for the state of the atmosphere. Deontology frames emission cuts as an essential repayment of a historical debt, prioritizing the rectification of past harms over the simple maximization of profit. Deontology ensures accountability, but its rigid focus on past debts can sometimes struggle to keep pace with the urgent 2026 energy transition. Our third framework looks inward. This marble bust depicts Aristotle, who focused on the character of the moral agent rather than rules or consequences. Aristotle sought eudaimonia, or flourishing. He believed this was achieved by finding the mean, the perfect balance between the extremes of excess and deficiency. From this perspective, the climate crisis is a failure of character. It is the physical result of the vice of excess, overconsumption, and unchecked greed. The solution is cultivating the virtues of stewardship and balance. These offshore wind turbines illustrate a society attempting to live in harmony with its environment, rather than simply exploiting it. A flourishing society transitions to renewables because protecting the shared world is what a balanced, virtuous society does. Virtue ethics addresses the root of the crisis, but building societal character is a generational process that must be balanced against the immediate need for survival. These frameworks offer three distinct temporal perspectives: utilitarian future, deontological past, and virtue ethics present. Relying on only one creates blind spots. We risk historical debates while the planet warms, or survival plans that ignore fairness. Navigating the 2026 transition requires the speed of the utilitarian, the fairness of the deontologist, and the balance of the virtue ethicist. Hitting 2030 emissions targets requires a level of global cooperation that proves our collective moral maturity. Ethical frameworks provide the necessary tools to negotiate equity, assign responsibility, and reach a consensus on the path forward. By aligning our responsibility for the past, our character in the present, and our survival in the future, we transform abstract philosophy into a practical tool for saving the world.